What up, guys? So today I want to make a video to talk about how to overcome overeating and why is it happening. So a friend of mine sent me a message and was telling me about his scenario with overeating, and I can totally relate because I've been running into that issue for like most of my life. And there are so many people out there that's running into the issue of overeating, and that's how, like, that's the basis of how diets got created. That's how all the structured eating got created, because us people are constantly overeating. So when you look at overeating, you have to think, like, why is it actually happening? Like, what is the real root cause? Because let's just be honest, if we look at it with as much truth as possible, we would find that most people that are overeating, they know that they have overeaten. Almost the moment that they are eating that second plate or taking that second serving or just putting more food in their mouth. They also know that certain foods are not good for them. And how do they know? Well, because shortly after they ate it, they will tell themselves, man, I shouldn't have eaten that. Damn, I knew. I shouldn't have had that second piece, or I shouldn't have that second serving. And they know. And they know that's not good for their body and good for their health. But the question becomes, why are they still doing it? What's actually happening? So, studying this for a little while, and this is something I wanted to solve also for myself because I've been dealing with it for a long time. And what people usually do to go ahead and overcome this issue is they go on diets. They get really, really strict on a certain type of eating. I'm going to eat this stuff and not eat that, and maybe even have certain amount of meals, certain times out the day, and get really, really structured. So this way they can overcome this, this eating issue. And diets relatively work, but they work while somebody is on a diet. And when they get off the diets, then it's just back to, overeating and all the same habits. If somebody was to stay on a diet, then they would constantly have to control themselves. They would always have to have a really structured way when it comes to food. And personally, I've done that personally for a long time now. And I'm telling you, it's not the funnest. Can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done for forever, to be honest. But it's not the funnest. There are times to where you just want to be able to try something. You know this is not good for you. But your eating is not just always around what's good and what's not. There's also other things to look out for, like, hey, I'm just going to try it because I want to taste it. I just want to try it. Somebody made it for me, and maybe it's not healthy for me, but I just want to eat it, So that's why the structured eating of diets isn't the most supportive for a full experiential life when it comes to food. And we all know that food is one of the luxuries in our life, So now let's go back into what's the real root cause of overeating. Because if we can figure this out, and we can be able to stop the overeating from happening, stop the constantly eating bad food from happening, then we become free. We become free to go and eat what we want, and we are able to control ourselves. And the key word here, I think, is control. Because we know that we're overeating and we know that certain foods are bad, but we just literally can't control ourselves. So let's dive in a little bit more. So what I found is that overeating comes down to two things. When we're in the process of having that second serving or picking a certain food that isn't good for us, there is a reason in our mind that is of a positive reason that encourages us to go ahead and eat that food. So there can be a lot of different reasons. I'm just going to name a few. Let's say if it's your mother or your girlfriend or your wife or your husband or boyfriend, somebody significant to you that you care about, they're cooking for you. Even if they're cooking something that's not good for you, you might eat it because you might think this thought in your mind, hey, I want to show them that I appreciate them. So I'm going to eat this food that they just cooked. And I'm not just going to eat it, I might eat a lot of it to really show how much I appreciate them. That might be a thought in your head. Another thought could be, these are organic, they're all organic, it's all healthy, it's all natural, so this is healthy for me. And so it's okay if I have a second serving, right? Or another thought could be, wow, this is my favorite dish. Whatever it is. Man, I love this dish. Let me go and eat some more of it. And so we can go on and come up with different scenarios on thoughts that we have in our head that encourages us to go ahead and eat more. Now, if we were to sit there and we were to really go ahead and debate it out and really dive down into these reasons, ultimately we'll find that none of it really justifies overeating. But at the time that we are overeating, we don't do that. We simply have a thought and then we just go for it. And then we just kind of blank out in any type of reasoning to go ahead and stop this action of constantly eating a bad food that's not good for us, or just constantly eating more. So the second thing is we have a feeling in our stomach that is uncomfortable, that we want to cover up. We want to cover up with food. This feeling a lot of times is really, really felt when we don't have a lot of food in our stomach. See, when we don't have a lot of food in our stomach becomes more sensitive. Now we're able to feel any type of sensation that's going on in our gut. But when we have food in our stomach, it's like the feeling sense is numbed. We are literally not able to feel as much in our stomach area, because the food is there, taking up the room. So we'll find that as the stomach starts to become smaller, as in not smaller, but as we become more hungrier, we start to feel that sensation. And that sensation, which is not just hunger, but there's another sensation behind the hunger. We may recognize it just as hunger, but as you dive in, if you dive in and really sit with this sensation without turning to snacking or turning into a meal right away, or drinking something and try to fill it up, if you just sit with that sensation, you will find that it's not just hunger, but that there is an uncomfortable feeling behind the hunger. That uncomfortable feeling is the feeling that we are trying to cover up, that we don't want to feel. And so we stuff ourselves with food. And the moment we start to eat, every single bite of food that we eat covers up this feeling. And eventually, we get to the point to where we don't feel this uncomfortable feeling at all. We just feel a plop of food sitting in our stomach. And while that bulk of food in our stomach isn't the most comfortable, especially when we really start to stuff ourselves, but it's more comfortable than that uncomfortable feeling that's behind the emptiness, behind the hunger. So those are the two main things that I really try to dial down to look to see what's the root cause of the overeating. Now, we can say, well, we call it emotional eating. Somebody has negative emotions and they just eat to make themselves feel better. But yes, you're right. But when we look at it, it's very general. We just call emotional eating as this whole thing. But when we dive in and get to the intricate details of what is emotional eating really broken down into, So it's broken down into these thoughts, these thoughts that we have that encourage us to eat. So the way to go ahead and overcome it is on two folds. Number one is creating a new thought pattern, a new thought that could counter the reason that we have that encourages us to overeat. And so we can come up with a specific reason for every single reason to overeat. Let's say if it was the first one, which was our wife or a girlfriend or somebody significant to us cooked for us, and we want to show them our appreciation by really eating all the food. Well, we can come up with a reason. When that first reason comes in, and that reason, you got to keep in mind, is so subtle that a lot of times we're not even used to hearing it. It's almost like this knowing that this is why we're doing it, and we don't even think about it in a conversational type of way. But when this happens, automatically we can go ahead and think, hold on, I don't need to go and show my appreciation by overeating. I can simply taste the food if I'm not hungry, or eat a small portion and then compliment them on the food that they just cooked, how great it tasted, how much I appreciated them cooking for me, and maybe how great of a cook they are, and how well I feel supported or taken care of. Anything like that, just to let them know. But I don't need to go and stuff myself and make my body feel unhealthy. If I'm trying to lose weight, I don't need to go and eat this extra meal and it's going to set me back for the next couple of days because of these extra calories. I don't need to go ahead and make my body feel lethargic, because we all know that after we have a big heavy meal, our energy crashes, our mind gets really foggy, and then we lose clarity, we lose energy, we just want to slump around, and pretty much anything after that is, you're done. If it's dinner, you're pretty much ready for bed. If you ever notice, right, your energy level just starts to tinker down after a big meal. And if it's lunch, well, then you get that midday crash, right? That you're chasing for coffee and stimulants to try to finish up the rest of the day. So that reason comes in. And so what I find is we can have a reason for every specific, overeating reason. What I like to do is just come up with one reason. So this way I don't have to go ahead and jump with all these different scenarios. Now, one reason is really simple. It's just, I don't want to overeat. Why? Because I want to stay lean, and this meal is going to set me back for a couple days. If I eat this extra plate, if I try more of that food, it's going to be too heavy, and I'm not going to be able to stay lean. Another thing, it's going to kill my energy, and it's going to kill my productivity. I'm going to lose my energy. I'm not going to think clear afterwards, and it's not worth it. And also, makes me really, really unhealthy, and it makes my body ache when I eat too much food. Nope, that's it. So anytime when I want to eat more food, I just think of those reasons, and then now those reasons will encourage me to stop eating. And then if there's another reason that comes up, nope, that's not true. And then I just refer back to the same reason until the last thing that I'm thinking about in my head is the reasons why not to eat. Now, this will take a little practice. And a lot of times when we are overeating, we kind of go in this trance mode to where we're not thinking, and we're literally just eating, feeling it go into our stomach, enjoying the taste, and then going back into eating. And we don't even really think, right? And so this will take a little bit of practice to go ahead and condition ourselves to think about these thoughts of overeating and to realize why we shouldn't overeat and realize the truth of what's happening. The second thing, which is probably even more powerful, much more powerful, is to sit with the sensation inside of our stomach, that sensation of emptiness. Remember, it's not just the hunger. It may feel like hunger in the beginning, but as you start to sit with that sensation, there is a feeling behind the hunger that is even more uncomfortable. And when we sit with that sensation, we start to become more used to it. And that sensation, there is a uncomfortable vibration of energy that's in our body we're gonna feel. And the only way to be able to overcome it is to relax into it and to let go into it. And so when we feel that happening, instead of chasing to food, just realize that there is something inside of us that we have to let go. Because if we let go of that sensation, that uncomfortableness behind the hunger, then now our bodies won't have the feeling of wanting the satisfaction of filling itself up, so it doesn't feel that uncomfortableness. We don't need to cover up the uncomfortableness anymore, because we are able to transcend it. We're able to transmute it. We're able to go ahead and turn that uncomfortableness into something that feels fine. But it takes a process. Sit with yourself when you have that feeling and just know what you're doing. You're not there. It's not just fasting. It may look like you're fasting. I'm not eating. Oh, why? Oh, just because. It's not just fasting. Okay? You're not chasing the clock and knowing that, oh man, at this time I'm going to just eat everything up. You're actually sitting there and getting familiar with that empty feeling, that uncomfortableness behind the empty feeling. And you will know when you get past it, because at some point, that uncomfortableness isn't going to be there anymore. But your stomach's completely empty. Your stomach is empty. You gotten past the hunger. There's that uncomfortableness, and you are able to let it go. And then you're going to find what a lot of people do experience when they're on a fast, which is a heightened sense of awareness and heightened sense of alertness. Your mind is going to be firing so clear. You're going to be wondering, like, damn, why don't I fast more often? But it's not just about the fasting. It's about letting go of that feeling. And then when you go into eating, you're going to find that you eat a little bit of food, you're going to feel satisfied. You see, when we don't let go of that uncomfortable feeling, we don't get satisfaction. Because satisfaction isn't just about having food in our stomach when we have that uncomfortable feeling. Satisfaction is getting rid of that uncomfortable feeling. And so that's the second reason why we stuff ourselves. Because we are trying to put enough food in our stomach so we can get rid, so we don't feel that uncomfortable feeling. But when we deal with it, face on, head on, now you can eat a little bit of food and it'll be satisfying. So try these 2 tips out. Let me know how it goes. Overeating is something that is one of the biggest issues when it comes to eating. But when we're able to go ahead and get to the root problems and actually solve it, then we don't have to be on these crazy yo-yo diets. Now we actually have control over how we eat. And if you do decide you want to go ahead and try a new diet, try a new food, or try a new supplement, try all the stuff, it's cool and it's perfectly fine. You can try it. But your mind and your body isn't running the show anymore. Isn't there, not allowing you to control what goes in and out. So now we're able to go and master our mind and body because we're able to master what goes in it. Thanks, guys.